I did a video about doing the right thing. Video response to my buddy Warbles on a lot. Let's have some coffee, Warbles. It's a cold, wet morning here. Um, all right, so my first exposure to people that they don't want to experience the the very thing that they have other people experience. Their actions create an experience that other people have to go through when they themselves do not want that at all. So I was very young, riding in the back of my parents' car. We were there was two cars in front of us and three lanes alongside us. So the three of us came to a halt. Traffic came to either lane for going forward on our two lanes to our right. Um, Now the two lights to my right go green, so traffic can move forward, and the our lane far left is still has a red because we're waiting to get a green light to take a left onto the freeway. But the car in front in the center lane doesn't move. It's got the green light, doesn't move. So I say, why doesn't that guy drive forward? And they're like, oh, he's gonna be taking a left onto the freeway. I'm like, but he's like blocking everybody. And they're like, well, yeah, he wanted to be first in line. He didn't want to be fourth in line, behind us. And I'm like, but so he wanted to be in front so there wouldn't be people in front of him. But then he gets in the center lane and people want to drive forward, and everyone behind him can't move forward now because he doesn't want to be, a little bit behind in traffic. It didn't make any sense to me. And I was like thinking it out. And then we ended up getting a left turn for the green, and the two cars in front of us accelerate, get on the highway. This guy has to take a longer turn, and my parents hang back a little bit so he could get in when you merge. So instead of being fourth, he was third, and he blocked a whole lane of traffic to not experience being fourth. It doesn't matter to him. It doesn't matter if he gets just a tiny little benefit. And it doesn't matter that he had other people experience something he does not want to experience. And I explained that to my parents, and they're like, you would have done that. And I'm like, you think I would want other people to experience something that I don't like? And they're like, well, not now, but maybe when you get older you will. And I'm like, you think I'm going to grow up and be like that guy? And then suddenly I realized what they were saying is like they're that guy. And like it really like it was a it's not something you want to like think about with your parents. Like you look to them as someone that you want to grow up and be like. And suddenly you're like, I'm going to grow up and be more considerate of others than my parents. And so later in life, stopped by a kayak place, and I was on my way to work, and I went in there, and there was a kayak on sale for $300. And I didn't have time to get it because I was going to work, and I was worried that the sale would be over. So I went up and said, like, can I buy that kayak and just come get it later? Like, sure, no problem. So I bought it, showed up on my weekend, claimed it. I could tell the people that had to go get the kayak didn't weren't into the job. They're like, oh fuck. So they went back there, and I watched them. I didn't know that they were bringing me my kayak. I just saw them moving kayaks, and some from the way back of this warehouse, they're moving this like two-seater ocean kayak, like the kind with like all the rigging and whatnot, like the rudder and everything. And they try to make it over display at one point in time, and that's in the center of the aisle, and they knock stuff off the display. So by the time they get to me, they're just pissed off. And they're like, here you go, buddy. And I'm like, that's not the kayak I bought. And they're like, it is. And they showed me the receipt for a $3,000 kayak with my name on it that says I paid $3,000. And they're angry. Um, So I pull out my receipt and I say, here's my receipt that has, the kayak I bought for 300. And they look at it and they do some checking and they're like, oh. And like they look confused and some of them still looked angry. And they got a manager over and the manager looked at all the paperwork and he's like, so you only got a $300 kayak? And they're like, yeah. And he's like, he looked at everybody and he turned to me and goes, no one does that. I'm like, no one buys a $300 kayak? And he's like, no, I mean, everyone would have taken the $3,000 kayak. And the people in the store that probably don't have to worry about people shoplifting kayaks. But part of their job would probably be keeping people from stealing stuff. They all went. I was like, I worked in a bar and I read some people left without their backpacks and jackets and stuff like that. That was really common. And the bartender's like, oh, I'll go through this one, you go through that one. And I'm like, why? They'll probably just come back and get it. Like, they'll probably just say, like, I left my blue backpack and my black jacket here and we can just give it to them. Because I thought we were looking through their backpacks to find their identification so we know who they are. And she's like, no, like in case they have like pot or something like our money or something like that. And I'm like, you'd steal from these people? She's like, well, and I'm like, so if I left my backpack here, you'd go through it like looking for things of value? She's like, oh no. I'm like, why? Because you know me? She's like, yeah. I'm like, so if you didn't know me and I forgot my backpack here, you'd rob me. So you're saying you won't rob me because you know me, but you would rob me. Like if I'd left it here like, a few months before I started working here, or if I stopped working here, or you didn't even know it was my backpack. You just go through it, and later I said like, oh man, I had $300 in my backpack and it's gone, and you'd be like, it's like, all right, so why, and why do I do the right thing? Because I don't think of it as they're doing the right thing. I think of it like, if I wanted a sea kayak, I'd buy one. Like, I think of it like, if all these little teeny things that you think, this little thing that you think is going to get you a little bit ahead in life, that's not how you get ahead in life. Like, stealing a little money out of someone's backpack is not how you get ahead in life at all. Like being, like third in line at a traffic light as opposed to being fourth in line at a traffic light makes no difference. And if things go better around you, New York's calling. Thanks, New York. If things go better around you, if the less, can I hang up on that? Yeah, I guess I can. I think that a lot of people think that having a whole lot of problems, matter of fact, I know this is the case. I think a lot of people think having a whole lot of problems is normal. Like drama, fights, it is normal, but it's not inevitable. It's not unavoidable. Yeah. So all these actions broadcast who you are to other people, and for a lot of people, it's just varying degrees of what kind of a douche you are. So like they try to surround themselves with as least douchey people as possible, and also the least douchey people kind of justify their own behavior. Like I hung out with some people and I noticed all of them shoplifted, irresponsible in traffic, drank and drive, they drinking and driving, and I was like, they were almost like a club, and I suddenly thought like, you wouldn't want anybody in your club that said like, oh fuck, you can't steal from people. Hey, you can't drink and drive, or like, hey, that was really inconsiderate to every single person here. Like you can't be around those folks. And I also like, I've also seen this and heard this a lot. Is like someone wants to know like how upset you would be if they did this. I'm like, well, I wouldn't want you to not do something because you think I'm going to have a bad reaction to it, because that just means you're going to like try to hide. You know, if you have that kind of behavior, you're just going to try to disguise that behavior. I would prefer that you just kind of do what you think is right, and then I get to know who you are, and then what I would do, I suppose, is decide whether I wanted someone like that in my life or not. And they're nervous now. I'm like, it's a thing, like, and there was this guy that was writing in Reddit, like he's skyrocketing through his career, and he gets to this point where he's like right at the threshold of being on the other side, and like some people were like in like the upper echelons were like saying like, you're gonna be somebody someday, you're gonna have your name, you know, on the front of our company, that kind of thing. um and his direct boss wanted him to do something that was illegal. When the guy pointed it out, the direct boss says like, well, I mean, get it done however you think you can, but get it done. The way to get it done was illegal. And so the guy has literally gone through training, company training, to like report stuff like that. So he reported it, thinking like, well, this, you know, it might be a test or something like that, or this guy might be dodgy, and he was fired. And there was all this the whistleblower stuff, and um, you know, suing for loss of income and all these things you could do. And you know what the company felt about that? They felt this. They're like, oh, you need to fine us? Here's some money. Oh, you need to sue us? Here's some money. Oh, you want to pay for lost wages? Here's some money. See ya. See ya, buddy. You know, because they got more money than they legally are allowed to have, because they do illegal things. And that was the thing. Like, you have to do something illegal to make it through the threshold. So not only do you have all the benefits, but they have something on you. So a lot of people think that's just the way of things. They think that you have to cut corners, or, you know, cheat. You know, and it's like little cheats or little lies or something like that. Um, but doors will be shut to you, and your options then will be limited. If that guy later felt bad about that, it's kind of too late. You know, like, he could turn himself in, but you know, who knows what those dishonest employers might do. I had a guy come to my party. This was a long time ago when I used to like have parties, and I watched him steal from me, and it was music, and I thought, oh shit, you know, all right, there goes those albums. And some other people saw him steal stuff too, and they're like, aren't you gonna take that? I'm like, I'll just buy another David Bowie, you know, album. And I had parties on a regular basis, and he kept asking me like about parties, and he asked other people, like, Earl's not inviting me to his parties anymore. And like, so people asked me before he did, and I said, oh yeah, he was stealing from me. I watched him steal from me, and so and so and so and so and so and so saw it too. And then later, someone said like, well, I actually saw him steal at a couple of your parties. So why would he come to me? Um, he came to me and say like, hey, you having your Christmas party? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, you haven't invited me. I'm like, oh, no, I'm not inviting you. He's like, why is that? I'm like, oh, you stealing from my house. And he said, well, why didn't you say something? I'm like, well, like what? Like, please don't steal from me? Or once you've stolen something and I caught you, say like, hey, put that back, because you're gonna want to go to you know, my parties in the future. He's like, yeah. But see, what I didn't realize, and what I found out later, is everyone stopped inviting him to parties. Like, I didn't make a stink of it, but it like became like well known enough that people are like, well, you know, I'm not having him over for my birthday party. He'll bring one gift and leave with two. But mostly, I think it's more subtle. I think that like, if you behave in this way, you end up surrounded by people who behave that way, and you don't even know that uh, there's other levels of being a human being. Like I knew this one chick. She was working this awful bar. Everyone she knew did cocaine all day, every day. and for years, and eventually they all got so bad, they all lost their job at once. And for her, she just thought she thought that was just normal. And I'm like, that's actually not normal. Oh boy. I wanted to make this video 15 minutes just because the concept just bothers me so much. Like, I've had two people not too long ago that accused me of lying, and I said, I've never lied to you. And they started like kind of like roll their eyes in their head like, well, and then they realized I probably hadn't, and then they realized I was so confident in just being able to say it that I was right, and both of them got angry. Because they lie. I mean, that's why it occurred to them that they heard something that they didn't believe, and so they're like, you lie. Like, it just shot out of their mouth so fast. I got you. Like, I want to think less of you, and the reason why I want to think less of you is you act like me. And like, when they find out, or when they think that like I don't act like them, then maybe they then think that I feel like I'm above them. And really, like, I just think that I wonder if they realize what their life is like because of that. Like, do they know that do they know what it's like, to trust yourself and to trust the few people around you, because that's who you hang out with. Like, I'm not going to hang out with that girl that steals from backpacks. I'm not going to hang out with that guy that compulsively lies. I'm not going to hang out with people that goes to parties and steals their music. It's just like, but like, so many people are like that. Yeah, those little things don't get you ahead. Only doing hard work, discipline, careful planning, savings, thoughtful actions and behaviors get you ahead over a long period of time. A lot of people just want something now. Well, thanks, Warbles.